Hey everyone, it's Tiana's birthday. So happy birthday, Tiana. Hopefully you're having a wonderful birthday. So get out your reading notebook and crayons, colored pencils, and a notebook. And we're going to begin. Put your name at, or not your name, put the date at the top. Today is October 5th, 2020. It's another October day. So put that date at the top of your paper. Good afternoon, Kristen. I see you greeting us in the chat box. Hello and welcome back. As we wait for our classmates to get into the classroom, we are gathering our materials. We're getting out our notebook and our pencil because we are going to use our materials to write today. So go ahead and get those things out. All right, scholars, let's go over our chance expectations. Let's go over our chance expectations. The C is for what? The C is for communication. Very good, Josue. I seen your lips moving. So C is for communication. Stay on mute unless you're called on and raise your hand for permission to speak. H is for, say it loud and proud, H is for help. Yes, very good. H is for help. Raise your hand. If you need help, you can raise it to the camera or you can just use the Zoom function and we will answer your question. Use that chat box to ask questions to the teachers and they will get back with you. Make sure you stay on mute though and you can use that chat box to ask questions and our teachers will get back with you. Activity is the A, and our activity is being engaged in the discussion. Remember, why are we supposed to be engaged in the discussion? You can yell it at the camera. Don't unmute your mic, but you can yell it at the camera. We're supposed to be engaged because it helps us learn, right? We have to learn the material. So if we're not engaged and paying attention and participating, then we're not going to learn. Make sure you're wearing appropriate school clothes. Your movement is what? You're working where you won't be distracted. I can see Honor moving her mouth and saying it with me. Very good, Honor. You're being a great scholar. Stay with the class the whole time, so don't leave the Zoom. And P is for participation. P is for participation. Be on time and have your device charged. S is for success. If we do all these things, we will be successful. We'll get the job done and we'll learn something new. All right, my wonderful scholars, let's review. Last week we talked about prefixes. So I want somebody to raise your hand and tell me what a prefix is. I saw Khalees' hand go up. Khalees, what is a prefix? Unmute your mic and tell me what is a prefix. Go ahead, unmute your mic. She's having some trouble unmuting. Let's get somebody. Okay, Cariel, can you unmute your mic? Tell me, what is a prefix?
A word added to the beginning of the word that changes the meaning of the word.
Very good. Can you give us an example?
The prefix miss
Mm-hmm. The
and
prefix miss. What does that word mean?
badly or wrongly.
Yes. So miss is a prefix that goes at the beginning of a word that means badly or wrongly, like the word misbehave. That means to behave badly. So can somebody think of another word, another example that uses the prefix miss? Can you think of another example that uses the prefix miss? What's another word? Let's see. I'm going to call on Josue. Can you tell me another word that uses the prefix miss?
Misunderstand.
Yes, very good. Misunderstand. Can someone else think of another word? Who else knows another word that uses the prefix miss? The prefix miss. You can raise your hand. Let's see. Oh, Cassidy. Go ahead, Cassidy. Help us learn something new.
Misspelled.
Misspell. I got some great answers in the chat box. I have misplace. I have mistreat. What about a word that we didn't talk about last week? Can you think of a word that you know on your own that has the prefix miss in front of it? A word that you know on your own that has the prefix miss in front of it. Oh, go ahead, Braylon.
Miss White.
Miss Wright. Okay, that's actually, yes, if you write something wrong. Okay, what about you, Braylon? You can mute your mic. Okay, let's see. Oh, Honor has one. Honor, do you know one?
Misdraw.
Okay. Mm, that's not necessarily a word. Josue, misclear is not a word, but unclear is a word. Yes, unclear is a word. All right, let's get one more. Let's see, who is this? Trinity. Trinity. Do you know one that uses the prefix miss?
Misput.
Misput, yes, that's kind of like misplace. All right, very good. Now let's think about the prefix the prefix misprint. Miss Boswell said misprint. Very good. That is one. Okay, let's look at the prefix un. The prefix un, what does that mean? I want to have Kenya. Kenya, can you tell us what does the prefix un mean? Uh-oh, we can't hear you. I have some scholars in the chat box answering the question. They say that it means not. If you think it means not, can you shake your head if you think it means not? Yes, yes, it does mean not. So the prefix un means not, like the word unable. I am not able. Not able. Can we think of another word that uses the prefix not? Jordan, can you think of a word that uses the prefix not?
I forgot.
Oh, the prefix un. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm I misspoke. That means that you spoke wrongly, and I said the prefix not instead of the prefix un. But we're gonna do prefix un right here. I'm gonna unmute your mic for you. Your name is not at the bottom, but is this you have numbers right here at the bottom. Go ahead and tell us. Frank, that's Frank. Frank, go ahead and tell us a prefix that uses not un.
Unfair.
Unfair. Very good. That's not, I don't think we talked about that one last week. So knew that all by yourself. Very good. That means that something is not fair. All right, can somebody think of another word? How about cherish? Cherish. Can you think of a word that uses the prefix un?
Unable to learn.
Okay, yes, unable was our example. We're going to have one more and then we'll move on to today. Genesis, go ahead, Genesis. I see you, girl. You are eager to answer. So what is a word that uses the prefix un?
Unhappy.
Unhappy, very good. That's a good one. That means you're not happy. Very good, scholars. You guys are rock stars. Now, let's talk about suffixes. So our word work this week, we're talking about suffixes. So a suffix is a word part that you add to the end of a base word and it changes its meaning. So a prefix is a word that you add to the beginning, and a suffix is a word that you add to the end. So I want you guys to write this in your journal. A suffix is a word part added to the end of a base word that changes the meaning of the word. We're going to talk about the prefixes full and less this week, okay? The prefix is full and less. Before we talk about those examples, I'm going to give you some time to write down that definition, okay? Write down the definition and our two examples, the suffix full and the suffix less. All right, I'm gonna put on some Monday music so you guys can write that down. Make sure you're writing this down, scholars. You should be writing a prefix is a word part added to the end of a base word that changes its meaning. And the suffix full, I'm sorry, I said the prefix, it's the suffix. The suffix is a word part that added to the end of a base word that changes its meaning. And the suffix full means full of, characterized by, or able to. The suffix less means without.
Me.
I love how I can see Anthony diligently working. That means you're working hard. Very good. Thank you, Amada, for showing me you got it written down. Make sure you get it all written down. And we're going to move on in 1 more minute. 1 more minute. One more minute to get that written down. All right, Josue is done. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. Thank you, Thaddeus. Thank you, Cariel. Thank you, Cassidy and Omaida. Awesome job, Braylon. Thank you, Brayley. I see you working hard. All right, let's go ahead and go to our examples. All right, so we said that the prefix full means full of. Can anyone think of a word off the top of their head that ends with the word full? Put it in the chat box for me. Can you think of a word that ends with the word full? Full. Faithful. Oh, very good. Helpful. Yes. Grateful. Very good. These are great answers. Beautiful. That's the one that I was thinking about. So full means to be full of something. So when you're so beautiful means that you're full of beauty. Thankful, full of thanks. Grateful, full of gratefulness. So you're full of something. Less is the opposite. That means that it is without. Can anybody think of a word that has less at the end? Can anybody think of a word with less at the end? It means harmless. Yes, that means you are without harm. Cariel, that is a very great answer. Homeless, you're without a home. Helpless, you're without help. You don't know what to do. These are very good answers. See, timeless, hopeless. You have encountered these words already. You just didn't know that that's a suffix at the end. I am so proud you guys knew that. All right, so let's look at this little chart. You don't have to watch, you don't have to write it, you just have to listen. So full means full of or characterized by or able to. So the word gleeful, does anybody know what gleeful means? What does that sound like it means, gleeful? It's full of glee, but what's another word to be gleeful? If I say gleeful, I am what? Oh, go ahead, Jordan. What do you think that means, gleeful?
Thoughtful.
Huh?
Happiness.
Look at this root. Look at the base word. The base
Happy.
word is glee, right? What does glee mean? I heard somebody say it. Was it you? What does glee mean? If I am full of glee, I am.
Truthful.
Look at Miss Boswell. Happy, right? Gleeful means to be full of glee. You're full of happiness. Okay, let's look at the next one. Thank you, Jordan. Let's look at the next one. Thoughtful, thoughtful. Look at, whenever you want to figure out what these words mean, look at the base word. This underlined word is the base word, right? And then it tells you that full means full of. So thoughtful, thoughtful. What does thoughtful mean? What does thoughtful? I'm going to get Cassidy. Cassidy, what does thoughtful mean? Okay, I think Cassidy might be having trouble. Let's get beautiful. I see you raising your hand. What does thoughtful mean?
When you think of somebody, you think of them a lot.
Very good. You're full of thought. It can mean that you're thinking about somebody a lot, or you're thinking about something a lot. You're full of it, right? You're full of thought. All right, we know what truthful means, right? You're full of truth. You're telling the truth. All right. Let's start our I can statement. Go ahead and say it with me, everyone. We are talking about poetry this for the next 2 weeks, so that's exciting. So let's say our I can statement. I can explain the elements of poetry. That's what we're going to talk about. The different parts of a poem. The different parts of a poem. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be poets. A poet is someone who writes poetry. So I want you guys to go ahead. We're going to write these words down. These are the elements of poetry. We first have a line. Now, a line is just like a sentence. It's a group of words arranged in a row. So in a poem, you have lines. They're not called sentences, they're called lines. And then you have a stanza, which is a group of lines within a poem. A stanza is like a paragraph. So when you have a story, you have paragraphs, but in a poem, you have a stanza. Then we have rhythm and rhyme. Rhythm is like when you have a beat, right? That's a rhythm. You have a beat. You say the poem with a beat. That's rhythm. And then rhyme is when you have words that sound the same. You have two or more words that sound the same. They have the same sound at the end of the word. So like hat and cat, or right and fight, or dog and frog. Those are rhyming words. And poems usually use rhyming words sometimes. They don't have to use rhyming words, but they sometimes do. And then we have repetition. Repetition is when you use the same word, phrase, line, or stanza 2 or more times in the poem. All right, scholars, so go ahead, write down these definitions, and then we will read some poems. Uh-oh, let me go back. There you go. Make sure you get that written down. I see you're very good at rhyming, very good. So I want you guys to write all of these definitions down so that you can use them this week in your assignments. Make sure you're not typing in the chat box at this time. Make sure you're writing, but you are right. All of those words do rhyme. Maybe later on you can write a poem with those words. Okay, I see Trinity is done. Very good, Trinity. One more minute and then we'll go ahead and go to the next part. We'll start reading some of our poems. All right, scholars, make sure you are not writing in the chat box because you are supposed to be writing on your paper. So if you're writing in the chat box, then you're not following directions. We're not answering questions right now, so no one should be typing in the chat box. All right, scholars, we're gonna go to the next part of our lesson, and that is reading the poem. So let's go ahead and look at some of these poems. And then we're going to find the different parts of a poem. As we read, we're gonna find the different parts. All right, scholars. So let's look at our first one. It's called My Dog Ate My Essay. My doggy ate my essay. So whenever you start a poem, you always look at the title first because that'll tell you something about the poem, right? So what do you think this poem is about? What do you think this poem is about? Let's get, McCoy, unmute your mic. What do you think this poem is about before we have even read it? Go ahead and unmute your mic, McCoy. He's having some trouble unmuting his mic. That's okay. We're going to get another scholar. How about Xander? Xander, unmute your mic and tell us, what do you think the poem is about?
The poem is about his dog.
Yes, someone's dog, right? Okay, well, let's start reading and see and read what it's about. It says, my doggy ate my essay. He picked up all my mail. He cleaned my dirty closet. He dusted with his tail. He straightened out my posters. He swept my wooden floor. My parents almost fainted when he fixed my bedroom door. I did not try to stop him. He made my windows shine. My room looked like a palace, and my dresser smelled like pine. He fluffed he fluffed up every pillow. He folded all my clothes. He even cleaned my fish tank with a toothbrush and a hose. I thought It was amazing. I see him To see him use a broom. I'm glad he ate my essay on how to clean my room. Okay, so what happened in that poem? Let's retell. Let's retell what happened in that poem. Because a poem can tell a story, but it also can make you feel something. So that poem told a story. And so what happened in that poem? Let's go, Jonah. What happened in the poem, Jonah? Can you retell it? You can unmute your mic.
The dog cleaned
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, the dog cleaned, but how did he know how to clean all that stuff? Can a dog clean? So how did he know how to clean? Do you need some help?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's have Cassidy help you because I see her hand up. How did that dog know how to clean?
The owner probably taught him,
Okay.
so the dog can clean his mess up and he can't.
Well, if you listen to the poem, it tells you at the end how the dog knew how to clean. Braylee, how did that dog know how to clean?
The dog knew how to clean because he know how to clean because he was a very smart dog and maybe he had magic.
Okay, well, the poem didn't say that, but I'm going to read the last stanza. It says, I thought it was amazing to see him use a broom. I'm glad he ate my essay on how to clean my room, right? So the dog knew how to clean because he ate his essay on how to clean his room. That's how he knew how to clean. He ate his essay. All right, let's look at some of these parts of a poem. This right here, this sentence is called a line. So in a poem, this is called a line. When you have a paragraph in a poem, that's called a stanza. So paragraphs in poems are called a stanza. And then sometimes poems use rhyming words. That word shine and pine, those are rhyming words. See how it has I-N-E at the end of both words? Rhyming words have the same sound at the end. Okay, let's read the next poem. The next poem is called Recess, Oh Recess. Recess, oh recess, we love you. You rule. You keep us away from the teachers in school. Your swings are refreshing. Your slides are the best. You give us a break from a really hard test. Recess, oh recess, we want you to know you're sweeter than syrup. You're special like snow. You don't assign homework. You make the day fun. You let us play kickball and run in the sun. Recess, oh recess, you're first on our list. We'd be in despair if you didn't exist. We're happy to have you. You're awesome and cool. Recess, oh recess, we love you. You rule. So what was the topic of this poem? What was the topic of this poem? Let's get Thaddeus. Thaddeus, what was the topic of this poem?
Recess.
Recess was the topic. That's what it was about. Did you guys notice how Miss Willis read the poem? Did you all notice how I read the poem? I read it in kind of like a sing-song voice, right? Sometimes that's how poems are read. That's like rhythm, right? That's rhythm. Okay, let's look at, this is whenever you have words or stanzas or lines that are repeating, that is called repetition. So it says recess, oh recess, all through the poem, that's repetition. All right, let's look at our story for today. So remember that Miss Willis, every week we have what? A weekly story. So since we're doing poetry this week, we're going to have weekly poems. So make sure you pay attention and you answer the questions and you listen to the questions, because these are the same questions that will be on your test on Friday. So make sure you're paying attention. All right, so poetry uses rhythms and words to show images and express feelings. Poems are often written by paragraphs called stanzas. Poems include sound effects such as rhythm, rhyme, and meter. Poems include word sounds such as alliteration and onomatopoeia. We're going to learn those two words tomorrow. And repetition to emphasize particular words or ideas. The speaker in a poem reflects a particular topic. All right, that's the genre study. And we are reading Adventures with Words. We're going to read 2 poems today and answer some questions about these poems. So please, scholars, pay attention, put on your listening ears, and answer these questions when we're done. So it says, I like you. That's the title of the poem. I like you. The smile on your face is like a simile. I don't know how it got there, but it looks just right. It says, you know, I don't like the same shade of blue as you, but I'll agree with you anyway, because friends are like that, like a simile. Your smile is nearly the same as mine, but not quite, which is exactly how I like it. So what did you notice about this poem? Frank, what did you notice about this poem compared to the ones we just read? Compared to the ones we just read, what's this poem like? How is this poem different from the ones we just read?
This one,
Mm-hmm. Remember Recess? So Recess, the one that we read, how is this one different from that one? Do you need help? I'm gonna get Beautiful to help you. Beautiful, can you tell me what is different about this poem than the other one?
It's like saying something like how it feels about somebody else. Saying how it feels.
Yes, very good. I can tell you were paying attention. Very good. It is saying how it feels about someone else. Carrielle put in the chat box that it doesn't have any rhyming words. That's correct. It doesn't have any rhyming words. Poems don't have to rhyme. Sometimes they do, but they don't have to. Okay, let's think aloud. So I will ask myself a question and answer them to make sure I understand what's going on. So the title is I Like You. I can ask myself, why is there a comma? If they didn't have a comma, it would say, I like you, meaning I enjoy you. But this one has a comma, so that means I just like you. So it's comparing me and you. So you have to pay attention when you have punctuation, because that comma doesn't mean that I like you, I enjoy you. It means that I'm just like you. So let's look at our questions. Oh, I gave you the answer already. Who is the poem writing about? Who is the poem writing about? Let's get Honor to answer that question. Who is the poem writing about? This poem, who is it writing about?
I'm trying to fix my screen quick.
Who is the poet writing about? The poem is writing about someone. Who is the poet writing about? Do you need help?
The ears.
Okay, I'm gonna get Jordan to help you. Jordan, who is the poet writing about in this poem? Who is she writing about?
she's writing about a person she likes.
Yes, she's writing about a person she likes. That person might be who?
It might be the little bird.
Okay. Well, look, the poem said it says, I'll agree with you anyway because friends are like that, right? So they're talking about friends. The poet is writing about herself and a friend. All right. What is the poet's message? What is the poet trying to tell you? What is the poet trying to tell you? What is the poet? Oh, Anton, go ahead, Anton. The poet is trying to tell you what?
Like, you want to be friends with him.
I didn't catch that, but oh, Cassidy, yes, can you? Cassidy, what is the poet trying to tell you?
They're gonna be best friends forever.
Okay, so I think the poet is trying to tell you that she and her friend are both alike, but they're also a little different, right? Because the poem said, it says, um, that smile on your face is like a simile. I don't know how it got there, but it looks just right. It says, you know, I don't like the same shade of blue as you, but I'll agree with you anyway because friends are like that, like a simile. So that tells me that the poem is telling you that we're kind of alike, but we're also different. We're also different. And how is the word like used in the poem? So I'll give you this one. The word like is used to describe, is used to mean two things: how we are the same, but also how much the person enjoys their friend. Very good. All right, let's read our next poem for today, and we'll read two more tomorrow. This poem is called an acrostic poem. All right, it's called Top Secret. Describe your dreams and they become mine. I'm a treasure box where feelings can shine. All thinkers need pages where dreams can take flight. Reveal all your secrets, one entry per night. Desires. Your desires are your wishes for certain things to happen. An entry, if you write an entry, you write a short note in a diary or a book. So let's answer questions about this one. What is unusual about the letter in the first letter in each line of the poem? What is unusual about the letter in each line of the poem? Can anybody tell me? Look at the letter in each line of the poem and tell me what is unusual about that. Go ahead, beautiful.
It's talking about secrets.
Yes, it's talking about secrets. All right, everyone, I want you to look at the poem. Look at the first letter in each line. We have a D in this line, an I, an A, an R, and a Y. Look at that word. It makes a word. Going down, it says diary. The title of the story or the poem is called Top Secret. You write all your secrets in a diary, right? So that's what the poem is about. It's about a diary. The first letters of the line spell the word diary, and that's called an acrostic poem. So later on this week, we're going to use our names to write an acrostic poem. Okay, now let's look. What does the structure help you know? So that helps me know that this story is about what? A diary. The poem is about a diary. Let's answer the next one. All right, this one is for you. I want to get my scholars to participate. What do you notice about the end of the lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 5? What do you notice about the ends of those lines? Look at these lines. This is 1, 2, 3, and 5. What do you notice about the ends of those lines? What do you notice? Let's see. I'm going to get Trinity. Trinity, what do you notice about the ends of those lines?
They rhyme.
I hear somebody typing in the chat box. Yes, they rhyme. Those the ends of those lines, they rhyme. So the words mine and shine rhyme, and the words flight and night, those rhyme as well. Okay, why did the poem use rhyme in this poem? So I'll tell you. Poets use rhyme in order to make the poem fun and pleasing to the ear. It just sounds good when things rhyme. You guys like songs, right? Well, songs are just like poems, and usually songs rhyme, so it sounds good. That's why poets use rhyme. Okay, scholars, we are just about out of time. We can never get to this, but hopefully tomorrow, we can build our story train. So tomorrow, we're going to build a story train, and we're going to use the story elements to help us tell a story together. So tomorrow we'll do that. We'll do breakout rooms, and we will do a story train. All right, let's go ahead, and we're going to talk about our assignments for today. So our assignments for today, you had 2 assignments. You had Brain Pop. You needed to watch your Brain Pop video right here, and you needed to do your Making Inferences quiz, Brain Pop quiz. Please make sure that you watch the video before